Hi, I'm Kevin Lee with the eMarketing Association. Many of you know me as the co-founder of Did It. I also run a nonprofit called Giving Forward. I'm here today with Tom Searcy and Carajane Moore from Hunt Big Sales. And the reason I wanted to have them on is, these days the lines between sales and marketing are more blurry than ever, particularly in the B2B marketing ecosystem. So making sure that your sales engine is running efficiently is just as important as making sure that your marketing engine is running efficiently. So, when I think about sort of the marketing sales divide, I always come back to Glengarry Glen Ross, right? You got the good leads and you got the bad leads. And certainly, marketing is always getting yelled at by sales saying, we need more good leads. Like, I don't just want leads, I want the good leads. So as we sort of think about that divide between marketing and sales and making sure your sales team is efficient, so how does that end up impacting your sales training when you go in and you help a sales team, ramp up their efficiency and make better use of their time, target more effectively, et cetera? How does that end up interacting with the marketing team?
Jane?
Yeah, so I would say one of the first things that we do is, as you know, the good leads is we find that many times organizations identify good leads based on number of employees or size of revenue. And by doing that, you have not narrowed the marketplace down tight enough to really provide good leads, right? You have given a marketplace that is still so vast and with greater than 50% inaccuracy for who you're looking to speak to. So one of the first things that we do is really help them add some more specificity in what is a good lead that marketing can actually then go and find and deliver to sales.
Well, that's great, because obviously there's an 80-20 rule in almost any data set, right? So when you slice up your leads that way, so it sounds like you're really helping them create target filters, and that to some extent, if marketing can use that target filter data, they can maybe do their job more effectively. Would you describe it that way?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that marketing's role is to think of it this way: if the sales process is the engine, marketing is the gasoline, right? And the quality of the gasoline that you put in, marketing has a very, very specific way of putting in the quality. The machine will only run so well as the quality of the fuel that's put in there. But marketing, the sales organization is built to run on almost any fuel and then complain about it later. So it's better to come up with the right fuel up front so that the machine will run well. And marketing's energy so much right now has to do with that profiling, that research, that segmentation. It's not pretty brochures and well-placed advertising at all. Marketing is a strategic driver. And if it's not treated that way, if they think that, if it's thought by the company to be that, then they're generations behind what the real leaders are in business as far as what marketing can and should provide.
Great. Well, you guys seem to focus on helping organizations land the big sales, right? That's right. Essentially in your name, hunt big sales. So one of the things I've heard from sales teams over the years is, oh, well, the big sales take a lot longer to close. They're more complex. Shouldn't we sort of be spreading our time out where we're also, not just hunting whales, but also tuna and maybe the occasional fluke, right? Just to feed the community, because they may be easier to catch. So how do you recommend that sales teams sort of allocate their time and energy? Because, you could starve before you close the whale, right? So how do you advise sales teams and sales managers from that perspective?
I would say this is the real challenge, and not to dive too far into the technical part of it, but the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics said that the number of salespeople in the categories of considered to be sales will drop by 22% by 2025. All right, and the reason is that the smaller, lower, more transactional nature of sales will be handled in a digital format, whether it's an online or a phone or whatever, and that territorial sales reps will be eliminated. And if you are good at hunting catching fluke or whatever the smaller sales are, you're going to be eliminated. Those roles will diminish. They're not going to go away completely, but they'll continue to diminish. It's the sales that have an increased level of complexity with an increased size of volume or revenue, which is where true sales, that group of personnel is actually going to go up by 10%. And everybody else who's in the smaller size of the business is going to go down, because organizations are looking for a cost of sale that is diminishing. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to move forward with good marketing, provide people a good interface, even in a business to business. And if you're ever curious about it, go to Alibaba.com and see if you can make a commercial purchase look like it's a lot easier. Last time I was on there, I saw an MRI machine for $1 million. I didn't say I got in the MRI machine. I just said I could see it for $1 million. But my point being on all of that is that, it's a comfort zone. The problem is that is a melting ice flow. And pretty soon you're not going to be able to balance on top of it.
Good point. Good point. With the larger sales, I always get the sense, or I also seem to recall from when we worked together many years ago, probably a decade ago, that team selling becomes more important once you go into the higher price point sales, the higher opportunity sales. So when you're in there training folks, or when people are engaging with your digital training platforms, is it just the salespeople, or are you trying to be more holistic in your approach?
We're trying to be far more holistic. To your point, there are a lot more people involved in the organizations on both sides, both the buyer side and the sales side, right? So it's not just the salesperson. And because the deal is more complex, right, as Tom was talking about, and higher in revenue, it generally has more visibility in the buyer's side of the house. So they do have more people. And in fact, in a recent Gartner study, it was 9 to 11 people on average in a complex large buy from the buyer side being involved in making that decision. So as a sales team side, you're going to need to have your subject matter experts to be able to talk with their technical experts. You're going to need to go in a peer-to-peer approach to go after those deals. So it's not just sales. And in the work that we do, it's not just sales. It's leadership specifically, as well as your peer-to-peer and subject matter experts.
Great. Well, I imagine your business has changed a lot in the last few years, certainly since the 10 years ago that we worked together. How have you gone digital and sort of allowed yourselves to deliver your services remotely?
Here's the thing is that the world is, first and foremost, the world for consumption of information has gone to an on-demand, self-guided model. This is why we see series on Netflix or others just dropped all at once. Why? Because the buyer or the consumer at that point wants to see at their pace, at any time of day or night, what they want to see, right? Whereas you and I grew up, and Kevin, you're much younger than I am, but we grew up that if you wanted to see a show, it was on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And if you missed it, there was no recording device. You just missed it. So the same thing is true in the business to business environment. Same thing is true in the world in which we deliver. And so what we've done is we've shifted to an on-demand digital model so that it allows customers within reason to consume the information at the rate that they would like to, with the appropriate workbooks and pages and materials, and then have the guided portions that are very specific and require kind of the customization of those ideas with a company. And through that, so the core ideas stay very much the same, but the mechanisms of delivery and consumption have adjusted.
Cool, great, thanks so much. One other area, obviously, within the sales ecosystem is this concept of referrals. Have you guys developed any sort of secret sauce or best practices around referrals when it comes to going after bigger ticket sales?
I was going to say, Tom, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think the thing is first of all, I've never heard anybody say, "Oh my gosh, I've got too many referrals." The thing that we find, and it really kind of comes out in three pieces. Piece number one is asking those companies who are mid-engagement to help you out with other companies who are 1 or 2 cycles behind, but whom they know the senior executives at those companies. Interesting enough, a lot of times they've left one company, they've gone to another company, and they recommend us to go deal with the company that they just left. Odd, but it happens because there's that issue of credibility. So you don't have to get all the way through an engagement to go ahead and ask for who it is that can help you that's out there. Second level referrals, really content-based referrals. People, it's a draw forward in which you are able to create a connection. LinkedIn, of course, is the more traditional place that's inside of that. And so what happens is this ecosystem of group referrals back and forth in which you create a sense of obligation by creating a referral for someone else. They come back and bring in that referral. The third one, of course, is the traditional one, and that is just do good work and ask nicely. But our modification on do good work and ask nicely is to ask nicely about a particular person or company. You know what their involvement is and the tentacles that they've got out through LinkedIn. So it's not just enough to say, hey, is there anybody that could use our services? But the issue is I see that you're connected to XYZ person at this particular company. We know that company is a good fit for us. Can you make an introduction to that person? Much better to have a targeted question like that. And without LinkedIn, that'd be almost impossible to done that background or research. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to do cold calling, easier way to do cold calling is to do cross-referencing between current customers and seek referrals into companies that you normally would not be able to reach into.
Great. Sorry, go ahead, Karen.
I was going to say, and I think Tom, those all very accurate, and as totally support you on that. I also want to add the idea that when you're talking about speaking specifically to somebody you would like to be referred to, adding the specificity of why they are a great opportunity for you to the person you're asking to gives them reason and language to go out and reach to their referral to refer to you. Why? Because these people know you well and serve your marketplace with expertise. So I would add that little bit of specificity to that.
Great. Well, speaking of specificity, just in case people who happen to be seeing this are curious whether they're a good fit for you, are there any industries or company sizes that you guys feel like you have a particular forte in, or will you pretty much answer the phone with anyone who calls?
Well, it's when you're in the desert, you'll drink the dirty water, and we only use that as an expression sometimes when people. But our core, Carajane, why don't you go ahead and because we have our own target filter, we're very clean about what that target filter is, and we're very rigorous about it because you're always tempted by somebody who comes to you and says, "I'll pay you a lot of money to do something you don't do right now," and your answer is, "How much money?"
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't do that. Carajane, why don't you go ahead and walk it through?
Sure, absolutely. So we know that we are great at working with the smaller companies who then want to compete against their larger competitors for larger pieces of business in the marketplace, that kind of David and Goliath perspective. So those are entrepreneurial organizations and CEOs specifically of companies between the $10 million and the $250 million size in revenue who are unhappy with their current growth rate, right? They know that they want to land large deals. We work in industries that are for business to business complex sales. So it could be business outsourcing. It could be construction or engineering. It could be professional services. It could be manufacturing. But we're looking for those IT technology, perfect, organizations that are looking for that and have already landed a large deal and understand the difference that makes in their organization and the adjustments that are necessary to go land more, right? And are currently growing. This is not a turnaround or solve my, dying strategy. This is a growth strategy. So those are some of the key characteristics that help us identify the ideal opportunities for our organization.
So I thought of one more question, so I'll throw it in here. We may end up editing it into a different place, but either way. The question really has to do with when you're out there selling, right? Do you sometimes get pushback from the C-suite with regards to, hey, if I go after the big sales, won't I increase my revenue concentration risk as a business? And how do I manage that trade-off? Like, getting bigger is great until you lose that client, in which case, there's morale issues and potential HR, layoffs, et cetera. So, how do you address the concern that they don't want to sort of land one or two clients, which will become, the majority of their revenue, because then it sort of puts too much revenue concentration risk on the company?
Well, there's two pieces of that. One is that when we talk to the CEOs and owners, we ask what the risk cap is, and they don't, what percentage of your business do you want to have based inside of any one company. But the second thing is that we talk about what is their velocity of growth. And so our job is to help them build a system by which they land additional large sales. Well, it's arithmetic, right? That says the more those accounts that you add, each one diminishes what your risk cap looks like. And if you believed you were only going to land one, then you would look at your risk cap very differently than if you said every 6 months, every 3 months, we're going to land something like this. And you have confidence because it's a system, not just an individual salesperson. So, but you're really right. You have to, that is a part of the conversation. It has to happen up front.
Right.
I would also say, Kevin, we oftentimes have organizations that already have that risk cap in their organization and are looking to us to help them diversify that risk cap. So it's very often that we have organizations that come to me and says, I have way too much business or revenue concentration in this, and I need at minimum of 5 more companies to offset that for where we are wanting to go. So it works in reverse as well.
That's right.
That's a great point. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. It was a pleasure catching up, and we'll certainly stay in touch. And I want to sort of see how your business continues to transform itself digitally.
Kevin, it's great to see you again. Thanks so much for having us as a part of your podcast.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's great to see you.